Hey everybody, it's the Judge here from Greenfire Games. Welcome to the fourth video in our series about Eldritch Moon. We're going to be talking about the red cards in this set. Now, initially going through it, there's nothing really too powerful that I'm seeing from red, but it's a very good all-around decent mixed color in this set. I foresee having red being run a lot in the draft format, because nothing really, like I said, nothing really stands out too much in terms of, like, there's no overwhelming creatures, no overwhelming spells. It's a pretty good mixed color if you need something to splash in. So the first card that caught my attention when going through the set release was Harmless Offering. The artwork is downright adorable. So if you look at it, it's somebody handing you a kitty cat that happens to have a snake tail. And I really like just how silly this card is, because when you go and read it, it doesn't look too powerful right off the bat. Target opponent gains control of target permanent you control. It costs 3 mana, 2 colorless, and 1 red, and it's a sorcery. There's not really a lot of cards you want your opponent having of yours, but there are a few that can really hurt your opponent. For example, the one card that comes to mind was one from Magic Origins, Demonic Pact. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose one that hasn't been chosen. Demonic Pact deals 4 damage to target creature or player, and you gain 4 life. Target opponent discards 2 cards. Draw 2 cards. You lose the game. So for this one, it just says one that hasn't been chosen before. So you can have this in the battlefield, and you can use those first 3 abilities that are all really good. And then in that last one, you know what? I don't think I want to lose the game. I don't think that's in my best interest. You can play Harmless Offering and pass the Demonic Pact over to your opponent. That means at the beginning of their next turn, they automatically lose the game unless they have some sort of disenchant or something to counteract your precious gift. Another fun card that Harmless Offering could be good for is this is more towards your modern or your legacy or your EDH, because it's a card that was in one of the commander sets but originally released in Worldwake. It's called Abyssal Persecutor. It is a 6/6 flying trample for 4 mana, which right there, is like, oh, there's got to be something wrong with this creature if you're getting a 6/6 for 4. And it's right in its ability. It says you can't win the game, and your opponent can't lose the game. So you're like, oh, well, let's just give that over to him. And he's stuck with it until he can get rid of this creature somehow, because he can attack you as many times as he wants. That card says he cannot win. It also says you cannot lose. So it's a standstill, and you pretty much just play until he runs out of cards. One of my other favorite cards in the set, it's a creature card, and it's a rare. It is called Hanwha Garrison. It costs 3 mana, 2 colorless, and 1 red mana. Whenever Hanwha Garrison attacks, put 2 1/1 red human creature tokens onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. So it costs 3 mana, and you get a 2/3. But when it attacks, you're getting more people. So again, like I said this in one of the earlier videos, I really like cards that bring in additional creatures for 1 mana cost. So that really helps in that aspect. This card really shines when you pair it with one of the new lands in the set, called Hanwha Battlements. Tap it, add 1 wasteland to your mana pool, pay 1 red, tap it, target creature gains haste until end of turn. So for that, if you have one creature out there, you pay 1 red mana, and it also gains haste. So it's whatever its mana cost plus 1 gives any creature haste. So that's pretty useful already in itself. But then you look at the bottom ability. It says, for 5 mana, 3 colorless and 2 red, tap it. If you both own and control Hanwha Battlements and a creature named Hanwha Garrison, exile them, then meld them into Hanwha the Writhing Township. So looking at Hanwha the Writhing Township, first off, I want to talk about the name and the picture. What this really looks like is the town, Emrakul made the town come alive, and it melted all of the people into these tentacles and ooze, because it's an Eldrazi ooze. I like the idea of people going from people to ooze. It has trample and haste, and the ability is whenever Hanwha the Writhing Township attacks, put 2 3/2 colorless Eldrazi horror creature tokens onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. So it's very similar to the Hanwha Garrison, to where when it attacks, it gets creatures, but it's upping the power and toughness of the creatures that you're getting. So instead of getting 2 1/1s, you're getting 2 3/2s. And also, the power and toughness of the town itself becomes a 7/4. It is 2 rares that you need to do this, but both cards on their own are still both relatively good. So I've talked about quite a few rares for the red color. I want to talk about one of the commons that really stood out to me. It's called Thermo Alchemist. So it's for 2 mana, a colorless and a red. You get a 0/3 defender, but it has this special ability that I think really makes it stand out. It's tap it. Thermo Alchemist deals 1 damage to each opponent. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, untap Thermo Alchemist. So since you're going to be playing this in a red deck because it's a red creature, you're going to be running with a lot of burn spells, and depending on what color it's paired with, there's going to be a lot of instants there. So if you're doing red and blue, you're going to have burn and counter spells. If you're running red and green, you're going to have burn and mana ramp. You're going to be seeing a lot of instants. So the way that this card works is, you have it as a 0/3 defender, so it's good already. So you tap it, deal 1 damage to everybody. Then you play a burn spell. He untaps. Tap him again. Do another damage to everybody. Because remember, it says each opponent. So this also works really well if you're playing multiple opponents, because everybody loses the damage but you. So you're just constantly tapping it, instant, tap it, instant, tap it, instant. So depending on how your deck is running, you can do massive damage in 1 turn. My favorite tactic with this card is using this ability on your opponent's turn. So say they want to end their turn, you're like, alright, well, I think I have all this leftover mana, it's going to untap in just a minute. So I guess I'll tap it, do a damage, and I got this instant spell, let's do that too. And then you untap it, and then tap it 1 more time. So it's happening, you don't have to spend your turn devoted to using this creature, it's just another option for something that you can do on your opponent's turn. Another common in this set that I really like is called Galvanic Bombardment. So this is 1 red mana, and it's an instant. Galvanic Bombardment deals X damage to target creature, where X is 2 plus the number of cards named Galvanic Bombardment in your graveyard. So initially this card starts off by doing 2 damage to target creature for 1 mana. That's about on average what a burn spell will do for you. But the way that this card really shines is when you have multiple in your graveyard. So it can do up to 5 damage to 1 creature if you have 3 more in your graveyard already. And there's a lot of cards in this set that help move cards from your hand or deck into your graveyard. So it's very easy to get those to stack up and do massive damage for its max potential. So I've talked about a couple creatures and a couple instants. I'm going to go more right now into a sorcery that really caught my eye. It's called Collective Defiance. This is another spell that uses the Escalate ability. It's 3 mana, 1 colorless and 2 red, and you get to use the following abilities. Choose 1 or more. Target player discards all the cards in his or her hand, then draws that many cards. Collective Defiance deals 4 damage to target creature. Collective Defiance deals 3 damage to target opponent. So for 3 mana, you got a pretty decent burn spell if you want to use the option to do 3 damage to your opponent or 4 to a creature. But for 1 extra mana, you get to do both of those. I don't really see using the discard your hand and draw that many cards feature too often, unless you're trying to build up for Delirium or maybe for a Galvanic Bombardment. Just try to get more instants into your graveyard. But those first 2, for 4 mana, being able to do 4 damage to a creature and 3 to an opponent, I think that's really worth it right there. I know there are better burn spells out there in general if you're playing more of the EDH, when you have a lot more options available to you. But if you pull this in a draft or in one of your release events, and you want to splash in, because like I said, it's a very good color to splash in there, because there's a lot of cheap options in the common and uncommon section. So if you want to splash right in there and you pull this one, this would be a pretty good one to have at your disposal. So one of the cards that Collective Defiance could really help on is another rare in this set called Bedlam Reveler. It costs 6 colorless and 2 red. Now, you might think that's a lot of mana right there, but what its ability says is, Bedlam Reveler costs 1 less to cast for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. So if you discard your whole hand and draw that many cards, there's a good chance you're going to be adding more instant sorceries into your graveyard to make this card a little cheaper. And this also helps too that one of its other abilities is, when Bedlam Reveler enters the battlefield, discard your hand, then draw 3 cards. So this card really helps if you're playing multiple Bedlam Revelers. Because if you play this, you discard your hand, draw 3 cards, you're potentially adding more instants to make the next one that you cast be cheaper. It can cost up to 6 less to play. So eventually, if you're playing this card right, you can get a 3/4 for 2 mana that also has prowess. So what prowess is whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 till end of turn. If you're running red, there's a very good chance that you're going to have a lot of instant sorcery spells in your deck already. So you're going to be getting a lot of prowess as you go along. I know that Shadows over Innistrad had a lot of instant sorcery spells that gave you devils. It's a non-creature spell that gives you creatures. Alright, and thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If there's anything that you felt that we got wrong or left out, we'd love to hear from you and leave them in the comment section below. Also, make sure that you check out the other videos in this series. You can find them either through our YouTube channel, through our Patreon campaign, or through our website at greenfiregames.net, all of which you can find in the links below. This has been The Judge. You have yourself a good evening.